is your testimony last week before the Senate, where Mr. Grassley, Senator Grassley, asked you some questions about the impact within the Internal Revenue Code and within your department of what the President has done on executive amnesty. And I think you went back and forth with Senator Grassley and asked you about people who are benefiting from the amnesty, claiming the Earned Income Tax Credit in arrears for up to 3 years. You remember that testimony with Senator Grassley?
I do.
And I don't know if we established what that would cost. Have you had a chance to figure out what the total cost would of that program would be?
I have not, but before I get there, I don't know where the $31 billion in refund fraud came from.
$21 billion.
$21 billion came from. As GAO testified, we stopped last year about $16 billion with a refund fraud, and only $5 billion is our estimate what went through, which is still a big number and we're worried about, but it isn't $21 or $31 billion that's going out the door. Now, with regard to the question you asked earlier, to be eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit, you have to work. It's in the Earned Income Tax Credit.
Correct.
To be able to apply for it, you have to have a Social Security number.
Okay.
So if you are, we have about 700,000 ITINs out there by illegal immigrants who are paying taxes.
Correct.
But they're not eligible to apply because they don't have a Social Security number.
But several million of them will get Social Security numbers under the new program, right?
And under the new program, if you get a Social Security number and you work, you'll be eligible to apply for the Earned Income Tax Credit. You will get an amount depending on your situation. If you're an individual working and applying for the individual tax credit, the maximum you can get will depend. It's been in the range of about $500 or $600.
Now, let's drill down on this a little bit, Mr. Koskinen, because there was some apparent lack of clarity in the interpretation of what you said in the Senate. I want to clear this up. Is the Earned Income Tax Credit only going to be available to illegal immigrants who filed taxes previously, or is it going to be available to all of them who receive Social Security numbers under the new program?
It turns out, and there was a lack of clarity about that, if you get a Social Security number, you can then file for this year if you're working, and if you earned income in the 3 years before that and filed, you'll be eligible. If you did not file, you'll have to file a return, and you'll have to file to demonstrate with the same information you would anybody else would that you actually earned income and therefore were eligible. There was some assumption that you would get the Earned Income Tax Credit automatically whether you were working or not.
So it will be available to everyone who was working even if they didn't file in the previous 3 years?
That is my understanding, yes.
And you have no idea how much this is going to cost?
I don't know how many people are going to get Social Security numbers, how many will be single.
But we do this all the time. Did the White House not ask you to estimate that?
I haven't talked to the White House about this at all.
Did anyone at the White House ever consult with your office before they issued the executive orders that gave rise to the executive amnesty?
They didn't consult with me, and to my knowledge, they didn't consult with anyone else. I'm not aware of any consultation.
Are you aware that if we were to do what the President did by legislation, that he did by executive order, that we would have to go and get an estimate of exactly what you and I are talking about here today?
From the Joint Committee on Taxation?
Or CBO, yes, sir.
Or CBO, yes, sir.
So if we did the same thing the President did by law, we would have to know the answer to that question, but the President doesn't have to know the answer to that question before he did what he did.
The President may know the answer to that question. He wouldn't come to us necessarily to get the answer. He would go to OMB.
But by the same token, didn't ask you for any input. Did he ask you, for example, about any increase in the risk of fraud?
No, we had no conversations with the White House that I'm aware of. I certainly personally have not talked. I've never talked to the White House about any of this.